Here on 5:31 PI. Hey, look, as our country prepares for the Budget 2022 announcement while expecting that a whole lot more visitors are going to come into the country, we have the privilege of having Prime Minister Jacinda Ardern on the show for our monthly Talanoa. So with that, I say talofa lava and welcome to the show this morning.
Talofa, thank you for having me.
Always great to catch up with you, our Prime Minister. Of course, as we get into our Talanoa this morning, I know that Grant Robertson had said, that our economy here in Aotearoa, we sort of went through this whole COVID shock, probably a lot better than most, elsewhere in the world. Can you sort of share maybe what can you account that to?
Yeah, you're absolutely right. And we've got a couple of things that tell us that we've come through better than most. One is that our debt is really much lower than many other countries. Our unemployment, we are at record lows, even outside of an economic crisis, at 3.2%. So those are really important measures. One of the reasons we would put that down to is both the strategy we took with COVID. We've said that the best economic approach would actually be looking after our people. And that's exactly what we did, and that's proven to be true. And the other reason is because we were very focused on looking after people's livelihoods. Yeah. So the supports we put in to keep people in employment and to help our businesses, all of that's made a big difference.
Prime Minister, with some of the major exports, though, that have been accounted for, I think like 8% increase in good exports. Can you sort of elaborate a little bit on that?
Yeah, so actually our exporters in some areas have seen growth over a period where it's been really, obviously, as we've talked about, COVID's been really tough, but our exporters continue to do, in many areas, very well. We've seen growth in particular for our primary producers, so our dairy sector, those who are feeding the world. People have been looking for high quality goods, things that they consider nutritious and safe, and they look to New Zealand. I was just recently in Japan supporting our exporters there. Kiwi fruit continue to do really well, and I think that says New Zealand's got a place in the world to be really good for the world by continuing to produce these high quality products, but in a way that's sustainable.
You talk a little bit about that. You have just come back from that meeting with your Indo-Pacific colleagues. Any other sort of benefits you think that New Zealand will gain from that relationship?
Trade was a big focus for us because Singapore and Japan are our third and fourth biggest trading partners. Fourth and fifth biggest trading partners. So they're really important for New Zealand. And it was an opportunity for us to support the businesses who usually export into those areas. Now that we're back to face-to-face, and also just support tourism again, coming back to New Zealand. It was also an important opportunity to talk to my counterparts and the Prime Minister Lee and Kishida about what's been happening in our region. They're really interested to see what's happening in our part of the Pacific.
Yeah. If you're just tuning in, we are catching up with Prime Minister Jacinda Ardern. Prime Minister, on Monday, of course, the New Zealand borders were open to tourists, of course, business visitors from at least, I think it was around about 60 visa waiver countries. Now, is the government, though, confident enough that New Zealand is stable enough to just continue welcoming our guests into Aotearoa?
Yes, absolutely. And you'll remember, we've been really careful about our reopening, and we've done it at a time that we believe that the cases that we'll get at the border, and we've actually still got precautions to try and reduce that down, aren't having a material impact on what we're dealing with here within New Zealand. And I think most people accept that. So now what we've also got to make sure is that we keep up our surveillance. We see that there are variants around the world. We need to track carefully where they're emerging, what impact they're having. We've been working really hard on a surveillance regime and a variant plan so that we're prepared for whatever may come our way. Good news is at the moment, it appears that we're seeing just some variation to Omicron. And whilst Omicron we're taking still very seriously, we know that relative to things like Delta, it hasn't had the same impact on people.
Paris, I want to switch, of course, Green Party. I know you're well aware of MP Te Anautu Ono. He has obviously asked, can the government do more in regards to, the incomes of those who are on the lowest income? Because, of course, inflation is at its highest in the last 30 years. Your thoughts on this, though?
Yeah, and so, one of the things that we've been doing is we've seen those cost of living impacts, and they're global. I've been looking around at the experience that other economies are having. We've seen really high inflation and therefore cost of living impacts in the UK, in the USA, in Germany, in just broadly within the European Union. It is not just New Zealand that's going through this right now. So we have been doing what we can to try and because we expect that we'll have another few months where this will be the case, doing what we can to support people. So we've increased the tax credit that 60% of families get through Working for Families. We've increased benefits. We've also reduced down fuel at the pump, and the winter energy payments started this week. So that goes to our low-income families and our older New Zealanders. So all things that we want to do to try and just help get people through these next few months.
And of course, the help that you're going to give to our people in the next few months. I do want to ask, of course, we had the slash in the petrol prices, and also, of course, with transport, which, let me tell you, has helped my daughter abundantly being able to get to school and whatnot. But do we see a possibility that could be extended?
Yeah, and so look, this is something that we've done for a 3-month period because we've obviously seen the impact of those increase in fuel, but we did make it time limited. What we are always thinking about though is how can we encourage more people onto public transport? And so there's lots of things that we can do to make public transport more attractive, having frequent services, having more stops, the price point. So we're always looking at that, and that's something that we consider with council as well, because they have a role to play there too. So we'll keep working on that because it has a great benefit for our environment as well.
Of course. And as always, Prime Minister, just love to know, is there any sort of key messages that you're wanting to let our community of listeners know this morning?
Yeah, I think probably similar to when the last time we talked. We know that we are in a period right now, and it's cold comfort that we're not alone, but the global state of things right now is tough. But actually, New Zealand is in a really great place to recover. And already we're seeing, that light on the horizon with our tourists coming back, things that we know will make a difference to our economy. What we've got to keep doing is make sure that every family feels that support, and that's what we're working hard on as a government.
Nice. Prime Minister, as always, really appreciate your time this morning. I know you are a busy woman, but look, and also happy Mother's Day for the Sunday. Yeah.
Malo pito,
That's all right. You have a great day. Thank you so much.